It's Cageside with John Morgan.
And welcome everybody back to another episode of Cageside with John Morgan, a UFC 316 post UFC 316 episode and post CFFC, me and John in North Dakota, and we'll get into that as well. But before I bring him in, it was a hell of a card this past weekend. Newark, New Jersey. Merab Dvalishvili dominates, reigns supreme. Let's get into all of it. Let's bring in the man. His name is on the marquee. You can follow him on Twitter or X. John Morgan _MMA. What's up, John?
What's going on, man? Yeah, it was a great weekend overall, right? Fun CFFC event, and we got to go out. It's just so beautiful out there. People, if you get a chance to go to North Dakota, go do it, man. It is just absolutely gorgeous out there. So that was fun. And then just to roll right into UFC 316, which, you know, we always get excited about pay-per-views, and man, I think the featured fights really delivered, and they really kind of got some interesting storylines going forward. So, man, recovering now, I guess, today, but a fun weekend overall, man. Just some great fights all the way around.
I want to dive right in. Usually we recap our weekend. We'll recap CFFC North Dakota towards the tail end, right? But I have to say that, yes, Merab, he utterly dominated. But in a way, I still view that Sean O'Malley looked fantastic. Can both of those things be true at the same time?
Yeah, they absolutely can. And I think that's what just makes what Merab is doing so impressive, right? Like, this is not a performance where you come out and say, man, Sean O'Malley really dropped the ball here, man. Like, he just, what was he working on for these past couple months? What was he doing? No, I thought he looked fantastic. I thought Sean O'Malley looked really good. And I think Sean O'Malley is still going to very much be a problem in the bantamweight division. But Merab Dvalishvili is just that good. And might I say, getting better. I think that's what's actually scary about it. I think you and I have been on the Merab Dvalishvili bandwagon for a long time, and just talking about, and of course everybody focuses on the cardio and the energy, and that does change things. When you don't have to worry at all about getting tired, you are able to fight so freely that it makes it amazing. But now he's taking the game up even beyond that. I mean, to get the submission win and to look as good as he did, this dude is a problem, and you got pound-for-pound rankings to talk about. You got all-time greatness to talk about. Merab Dvalishvili is amazing, and I don't think you have to take away from Sean O'Malley to praise the greatness of Merab Dvalishvili.
O'Malley comes in pure baby facing right off the bat, right? You know, God bless the USA walkout. Like,
yeah,
man, this guy. And I turned to my buddy Big Mike, who I watch a lot of these fights with. And I'm like, dude, he's going for the baby face pop out the gates.
Yep. Yeah, look, it was the whole attitude the whole week, right? I mean, it may seem a little bit silly, but to me, it encapsulated the whole thing of what he was trying to accomplish. Like, gone is the wild hair dye, you know what I mean? Gone is the brash braggadocio in the press conferences and stuff. It's just like, man, I'm a man on a mission. I'm here to prove my greatness as a fighter. I'm not here to just be the sugar show and, check out my fancy car and look at my drip. And not, it's not that. It was like, I'm here to be the world's best fighter. And so, he was dialed in, he was focused, he was prepared. And it got me excited. Like I said, I wasn't that excited when the fight was first announced as a rematch, but by the time they stepped in the cage, man, I was all in.
I mean, yeah, and I just it's so weird because I came out of this thinking, you know what, O'Malley did what really nobody has done outside of Jose Aldo and fend off a lot of takedowns. Like, he did great. I mean, if you even look at Cejudo wasn't fending off the takedowns to the clip that O'Malley was. I mean, I think at one point he was 2 for 10 on takedown attempts. Now, when he does get him down, he makes them count. But still, like, at that stat is it's almost staggering to say that somebody fended off 2 of 10 takedowns from Merab Dvalishvili. That's kind of wild to say.
It is. And that's what makes Merab so effective, though, right? Because generally speaking, and man, a failed takedown attempt saps a lot of energy. It's frustrating, right? Because look, it's a little bit scary sometimes just to shoot in, right? Because you got to shoot past those knees. You got to shoot past the uppercut. It's a little bit concerning. And so you put all that energy and that mental effort into it. And for the average person, after that, they get a little bit frustrated and they get a little bit tired and they may cease to shoot quite as frequently or quite as often. But Merab, the speed at which he could just decide, you know what? Nah, you're going for a ride right now. Like, you know what? We're standing up and we're trading a little bit. We're having some fun. And now you're going for a ride. It's amazing. And like you said, once he did get the takedowns, he was able to make him to make him pay for it. But yeah, 5 of 12 on takedown attempts was the final stat there. I mean, there were 7 defenses from Sean O'Malley, and he did look effective in that department.
Oh, so 2 of 10 wasn't right. Then maybe it was like 2 of 8 at one point.
At one point, somewhere along there, yeah.
But I just really do believe that O'Malley looked good. And that speaks to the greatness of Merab. And I mean, I guess we can kind of break down the fight. Round 1, 2, and 3 kind of played out the same. He got taken down. He got back up. He fended off some takedowns. Really never got off any strikes because of the fear of the takedown. Merab looked great on a stand-up, pressuring him the whole time, throwing shots. And you did see at one point, or at least I think I saw O'Malley break, right, to a little bit.
Yeah.
It was he had gotten up twice and then got taken right back down, got up, taken right back down, got up, taken right back down, and then I'm going to pull guard. That third time kind of like needed that breath. I'm not going to say he broke, but then he wasn't as relentless in trying to get up, then had to build himself back up to get back up. And he got in. I don't even really know exactly what the official choke was because it was a kind of a unique head crank. Like me and Mike, I'm a black belt, he was a purple belt. We're like, in reality, I think it was like a neck crank / Ezekiel choke from the top. That's what I think. Position.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. The Ezekiel choke kind of was what reached out to me. I saw some people breaking it down as a ninja choke or whatever, but it's a little bit modified. But it just goes to show you, right?
Ninja choke is in front.
That's what I thought as well. I saw people calling it that. I thought Ezekiel, to be honest. I was like, did he just hit like a inverted north-south Ezekiel choke? I mean, It was awesome, man. It was beautiful, and it was creative, and it just goes to show you. And I say it all the time. I mean, obviously, I'm not a black belt by any stretch, but in watching thousands and thousands and thousands of fights, bro, if you've got the neck, put a squeeze on it somehow. You know what I mean? Just if it's there, give it a shot because you just never know, right? I mean, even if it's, just the pressure on the neck or the pressure on the chin, bad things can happen to that other person. But it was a beautiful finish. And I do think, I hate to say anyone broke because it sounds like you're talking bad about him, but it's just relentless. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to say his will's not there, but it is so hard and so relentless. And at some point you do say, hold on, man, I might have 2 more rounds of this. Maybe I need to conserve a little bit of energy because, as you said, it was like, I got to get up. And to your point, I was looking at stats. It was 2 for 8 after 2 rounds. So, I mean, There was some effectiveness. It was in that 3rd round where it started to shift. But, yeah, you do get to a point where you're like, man, I've used all this energy to get back and escape, and I got immediately dropped down again. Maybe I should just chill here for a second, use it as an active rest position, and I trust my guard. I trust my ground game to work from here. And unfortunately, you just can't trust yourself anywhere when you got Merab Dvalishvili next to you.
Well, he doesn't give you a chance to, like, even off your back to set up a triangle, to set up, whatever, call it whatever. I mean, the main attacks from the bottom, in MMA would be an armbar, a triangle, or, maybe some sort of Kimura to use as a sweep. And, the activity that Merab has in those positions means – it's never getting stood up from the ref ever.
Nope.
Right?
So
Number 2 is, you're not going to be able to isolate an arm because the arms are always moving. So you can't isolate one. And so now, and I guess people who don't, aren't high level, like, recognizer of jiu-jitsu, might not have noticed this, but I did right away, because a lot of the ways that you try to get up, especially if you on bottom are in full guard, the guy's going ham on you on top, is you have to try and push him down, right? You have to try and push him down your body to then be able to, get your hips underneath you, either A, technical stand up, or B, kind of give up your back to a degree, in which O'Malley was when he was able to give up. He'd give up his back to a degree and kind of stand right back up. But Merab, like when he gets on top and is in that full guard, he's putting your face right above his face right above your face. So there's not a mechanism to drive him down. And that's just, it seems elementary, but to be cognizant of that while throwing punches, while trying to advance and all this, it's extremely high level and it's extremely impressive.
Yeah, it's funny as you were going through it, and I'm kind of thinking about the years of watching Merab perform and what he does. And you're so right, man. He presents so many challenges. It's like I feel like maybe if you are stuck underneath him, like the best you can do is just like try for double wrist control and bridge and buck, and that's that. I mean, you know what I mean? Like you're not going to be able to set anything up, so like you said. So it's like just try to control the wrists and bridge out maybe, and just create a scramble. Like I can't imagine you're getting anything clean. It's a challenge, and and again, it's that speed, right? It's the speed at which happens. Like you can't comprehend fast enough. You can't make the decisions quick enough. It's almost got to just be instinctual at that point. It's incredible. I mean, and you know what? I feel like him getting a finish now, especially, I feel like after this performance, people are finally starting to come around on this guy. I mean, again, you and I have been singing the man's praises for years of like, just how effective he is, number one, like how difficult he is for anybody. Like he is a bad matchup for anybody, a challenging matchup for anybody because of the physical tools that he has. But he's also just a funny guy. You know what I mean? Like he's just a good dude. Like he's got great energy. He's, funny on social media. He just, there's not a reason to be a fan of, but I feel like because he had so many decisions that people were like, yeah, but I can't really get into it. And I feel like maybe this is one where because of the domination, because of the performance, and again, not to take away from Sean O'Malley, this was a prepared Sean O'Malley, an effective Sean O'Malley, and even he still couldn't figure out the riddle. I feel like I'm finally starting to see people go, oh, this dude is really, really good and might already be the greatest bantamweight of all time. And oh, by the way, when he's done, might just be in GOAT conversation depending on what happens next over his next couple fights. And the great thing about Merab is, man, he's not one of these guys that's like, I'm going to chill for a while. Like, I don't know right away.
He's going to get old fast.
No, you know what I mean? And I love it. He's like, hey, Corey Sandhagen. And I think that was another thing too, and we'll keep talking about it, but the good energy of this fight card as well, right? Like he's not trash talking Corey Sandhagen, right? He's just like, Corey Sandhagen, you're kind of funny on social media. I like your jokes. Like, and by the way, you're the next contender that hasn't fought me. Let's go. And he's let me take a little vacation. I do want to go home, but give me a couple months and we'll do it. Like, I don't know, man. I feel like the public is finally starting to come around on Merab Dvalishvili, and I like to see that because I don't know if there's a guy that's more deserving of that type of praise.
And I don't think there's a guy out there that can handle him. I just don't see a path for other people. I mean, the path would be like, hey, let's wait until Umar gets to him, and then we'll see. Hey, we already saw that.
Already saw it. Yep.
And through 3 rounds, this was like one of the greatest fights you could see. And then Merab even wore him down. It's just spectacular. So in bantamweight greats, before him, who would you have had there?
I mean, most people will look at Dominic Cruz as the greatest bantamweight of all, especially when you roll in the WC stuff as well, which I think you have to. I mean, obviously, the UFC tenure was, there's a lot of injuries and a lot of layoffs and all that, but I think you'd have to put Dominic Cruz. But yeah, I mean, the speed at which Merab is racking this thing up and the fact that he's already about to start lapping the field and going back through everybody, I mean, that's incredible. I look forward to seeing the new UFC rankings come out this week because I want to see where he lands on, the pound for pound list. And, pound for pound, obviously it's kind of a silly debate, a silly argument. We know it's a fictional argument, but if you're trying to put any kind of actual criteria to it, I like to look at, who of their contemporaries have they beat? If you look at, okay, yes, they're the champion of their weight class, but how many victories do they have over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that, because a lot of people will get to a title shot. Maybe they beat number 8, but then during the timing or availability, then they fought number 2. They haven't gone through everybody. It's not like you have to go step by step. But Merab has pretty much gone step by step. I mean, he beat a lot of those names.
Second fiddle to Aljo for so many years.
That's it, man. So he really does have a wins over that. It's, Demetrius Johnson-esque, George St. Pierre-esque, light heavyweight John Jones-esque, where you've beaten everybody in the division, man. And I love to see that. Obviously, Corey Sandhagen is a fresh face. And Corey Sandhagen is a riddle in his own right. You know what I mean? Right? I mean, this is a very, very, difficult guy to figure out with the style, with what he brings. He's incredibly intelligent. That he'll be breaking down tape. He'll break down the game. I mean, we're we're months away from having that matchup, but it will be a fun one to talk about. And you know, the two tacticians that these guys are will be incredible. The build-up will be fun because, again, you know, they like to make jokes and have fun, and it'll be fun on social media. But, man, I'm sorry, and no disrespect to Corey Sandhagen. I'm just in a spot right now where there's nobody in the division that I pick against Merab Dvalishvili. Do I say you present some unique challenges? Do I say here's your path to victory? I guess. But it's tough, man. That dude is good.
Yeah. Know who else is good?
Who's
Kayla
that?
Harrison.
Oh, my God. Unbelievable, man. I have been on the Kayla Harrison bandwagon for a long time. I think she's incredible. I think she's an incredible person on top of being an incredible fighter. I think what she's done in her career is amazing. I mean, a 2-time Olympic gold medalist is insane. What she accomplished in the PFL is insane. Now what she's accomplishing in the UFC is insane. You know, as I said, my only fears going in were, you know, does this thing go long? And if it does, does she start to wear down? It didn't, and she didn't. It didn't matter. And I thought she fought. I thought she fought a great fight. You know, one of the things we talked about, right, is like I don't want to see her, as much as we think that early on is her best shot. You don't need to burn all your energy early on. And I thought she handled that well. I thought it was a tactical plan from her. Like, hey, I know what my strengths are. I don't have to overplay my hand to get to them. And she got to them. And she is just, she's unbelievable, man. She is so good.
And she almost took that arm home with her.
she's so.
That thing was so far behind her back. It was actually cringing, like, to see it. Like, man, good thing Juliana Peña is flexible, and it may have torn things already.
Yeah, may have had some issues anyway. I mean, just a dominant performance from Kayla Harrison. And like I said, you know,
it's hard to break that fight down too, because it was. I mean, Juliana
I was going to say,
like, I think she looked good. She minimized the damage on bottom. I think her game plan is exactly the game plan that we laid out. Get her to 3-4-5. Get her to 3-4-5. And I think that's what she was actively planning to do. It. She wasn't rushing her like she had Nunes and trying to overwhelm her with volume like she does a lot of people. She said, I'm just getting to 3-4-5. And she, even playing that complete defensive tactic, she couldn't get it to 3-4-5.
Yeah, and to be honest, like, I don't think Juliana Peña made a mistake in that assessment. I think most people realize it. I mean, even, you know, Kayla Harrison afterwards just talking about how challenging it is for her to get to 35. You know, that's what you want to do, is test it late. She simply just couldn't. Kayla Harrison is a force of nature, and man, it's incredible what she's accomplished. You know, I think she's a deserving champion. I feel like she's a superstar as well. Like, I mean, she just, the energy that she has, people are drawn to her. You know what I mean? I was just watching the video this morning of, you know, her returning to American Top Team with the belt. And, you know, obviously ATT, if you've ever been in that facility, it's incredible. The trophy case that they have, the number of belts that are in there, you know, so to bring a belt home, it's not like everybody shows up just because, oh, we've never seen that before. Like, they've seen a lot of them. And the love that everybody had in there for is evident, you know, from the coaches to the fellow fighters. I mean, she's just incredible, and she's a superstar. And like you said, we could break down the fight, but there's not a lot to break down. But what we do have is, again, another matchup. Like, I know Dana White in the post-fight press conferences always likes to say, hey, you know, we don't make matches on the night of the fight. We'll get together on Tuesday, and then we'll talk about what's next. But it was always clear what was next was Amanda Nunes, right? I mean, these two had been teasing it for a long time. They trained together. They were in the gym together. And it had been brought up quite often over the years. And I always loved the way Kayla Harrison handled it. She always said, listen, I do want to fight Amanda Nunes someday. I don't want it to be weird. I don't want it to be a rivalry. I don't want to create gym drama. I just believe that she's the greatest of all time, and I want the chance to be the greatest of all time. And to do that, I've got to fight her. And they set it up perfectly, and now it's going to happen. And I love the fact that, you know, that Amanda Nunes, you know, was respectful, and they came in and they had the face off, and it was love. But it's going to be a great fight, and I'm very, very excited for that one because, you know, we'll have months to talk about this one as well when it finally gets arranged. But if Amanda Nunes is still Amanda Nunes and it stays on the feet, she's a problem for Kayla Harrison because Amanda Nunes striking is legit. But if it gets to the ground and Kayla Harrison grabs hold and gets the clinch, man, I think Kayla is strong enough and effective enough that she can dominate Amanda Nunes, even if Amanda is a black belt. I think there's different levels. So I'm excited for that one. And
I was encouraged to see the size of them were eerily similar in height and stature.
Yep.
Now, obviously, Kayla Harrison is just a specimen in the next level physique-wise. But when they did the face-off, it didn't appear to be this huge size disparity.
No. I'm assuming it's going to be the bantamweight fight. I mean, Juliana's been out. Excuse me, I should say Amanda's been out for a while. And obviously she had the 45 title too, but the 45 division is gone. So I can't imagine that the UFC would want to be like, hey, let's take that belt out, even though we have no division. Let's do it at 45. It'd be easier for both women, I think, to not have to cut down to 35, but I don't know that makes a lot of sense from a UFC. I mean, I guess ultimately you're getting the fight, so does it matter what division it's
at? But a
at?
belt needs to be on the line for it to mean what it needs.
It does. I 100% agree with you. And I don't think just taking the belt out of the closet and saying, well, I know we haven't had this division in years, but let's put this 45 belt up for grabs. I don't think that does it. I think it's got to be the 35 title.
100% agree. Speaking of weight cut, Kayla Harrison did not look good on that scale.
No.
That is scary. I mean, scary. Like when she said, I had to go to a dark place and only God got me through it. Like, I believe her. From the way she looked to get that last pound off of her, you look at her and say, how is this girl going to fight? And that's why I almost don't like her admitting how hard it was. Like, is that going to be maintainable for her to keep making weight, for 3, 4, 5 defenses or whatever? But that, like, she looks as close to death as you can get onto a scale. Go look at the pictures. It is not a pretty sight.
No, it was very funny. I was actually, I was showing my wife that exact picture, and she was like, "Oh my God," because it's hard to look at, And listen, Kayla does it the right way. Like I've interviewed Kayla, 2 months from a fight, and she'll do the interview like while she's walking because she walks like 10 miles. Just you know what I mean? Like she's constantly doing things, no matter how. It's not like she waits to the last second and just sucks all the water out. She does it the right way. But even doing it the right way, she'll say that last little bit, I mean, look, there's nothing easy about weight cutting. It's not a good thing in our sport. I don't know how you fix it because I've never, in the years and years and years, whatever system you come up with, the fighters are just going to figure out a way to gain that system. They're just going to work within it, whether it be same day weigh-ins, whatever it may be. But it's hard. So to answer your question, I don't think it's sustainable, to be honest with you. Again, as professional as she is, and I'm not doubting Kayla Harrison, I'm just talking physically speaking, I don't think it's sustainable. But let's be honest. I mean, if she beats Amanda Nunes, what else is out there right now? You know what I mean? So, like, I honestly believe, like, we might not see Kayla Harrison very long.
I don't think she can just say, I'm done. I'm done with my competitive career with the type of girl she is.
This is true. She'd have to figure out something. Yeah, you're right about that. I mean, she does have her kids, and being a parent does take up a lot of her time. And I think she homeschools them as well. So I mean, she's like very, very involved in their upbringing. So maybe that can happen. She's made a lot of money, and she's done very well with it. She was well paid at PFL for a long time. I mean, you can talk about the $1 million season winners. Like, bro, she wasn't fighting for $1 million for the season. I can tell you that right now. Like, she was making far more than that. So she's made a lot of money. She's done well for herself. She seems to live pretty frugally. So I don't know how much she needs to continue fighting. I don't think financially she needs to at all, to be honest with you. But you're right. Mm-hmm. I mean, she's been a competitor her entire life. So what does she replace it with? I don't know. But and listen, I was going to say, I mean, maybe they say, well, let's bring back the 45 division just for Kayla. But I mean, why? If you're just going to keep dominating people, what's the point? So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, though. But I would not expect her to be fighting at 35 for a long time, to be honest with you. I just don't know that it's sustainable. So enjoy it while you can, man, because she's one of the all-time greats. There's no question.
So we've now talked about 2 utterly impressive performances. Let's talk about a less than stellar debut.
Man.
Now, I need to preference this with, I'm flying back from North Dakota. I'm sitting next to an Extreme Couture coach.
Right.
And he says, bet the farm on Patchy round 1 submission. Bet the farm. He's like, I've never seen anybody like this guy ever. Grapple like him. He submits every single person in the gym with ease. It's not even competitive. And then we saw what we got out of Patchy that night. Very disappointing. But I don't want to take away from Batista because Batista just overwhelmed him. He overwhelmed him. But we're not here to talk about, Batista, who has, done this multiple fights. We're here to, in honesty, in this podcast, we're here to talk about this highly acclaimed new signee into the UFC that everybody was so excited about, rightfully so. And then we get this.
Yeah. And look, and I like Mario Batista a lot. 8-fight win streak. He's kind of been the unheralded guy in that division. And heck, people even, hating on him after the Jose Aldo performance, And so I feel bad for him because I feel like he's going to find himself in that situation again where people are mostly talking about Patchy, not talking about Mario Batista. But let's be honest, Patchy was the big, high-profile free agent that was brought in here. And, the things that you heard are the things that we hear on a daily basis here in Las Vegas. I mean, everybody that rolls them is like, this dude is on a different level, man. And, yeah, the performance was like, if that was the first time you watched Patchy Mix compete, if you're one of those people that only watches UFC, and I understand there's a lot of people like that, you have to walk away from that performance going, what was everybody even talking about with this guy? Like, I'm so confused. It was that type of performance. And I do wonder, I am trying to figure out how much of it was jitters that everybody does have. Everybody says they don't, and Patchy's been around the UFC through Tatiana Suarez. Like, he's been there, so it's not like it's his first time there. But I'm telling you right now, everybody to a man feels a little bit different when they step in the UFC, no matter where they've been. They just do. So
I think it's undeniable because I think his talent is there, right? So I think you can only really point to one thing, unless he got cracked like right out the gates and he just never recovered, which I don't maybe, but I think it's more of the latter, right? I think it was more of, hey, listen, man, this is a big moment. I've been the focus of this and maybe a little shell shocked by it because there were no takedown attempts. There was no movement. It was, from watching it, a stuck in the mud way of fighting the whole time. Did he have a couple moments where he landed some decent shots? Yes. Right. But for the most part, he wasn't even through 2.5 minutes of the first round. I turned to my buddy Mike and I said, he is getting knocked out. He wasn't even moving his head.
No, it was hard to watch. And part of me was like, okay, so the opening round, I mean, after 5 minutes, you're just like, what is going on? And part of me was like, well, was the game plan like, hey, everybody knows you're going to try to grapple, so let's just go strike for 5 minutes, and let's make him think that you're coming to strike, and then round 2 is when we make the adjustment. I was trying to give that benefit of the doubt, right? Because it was such an odd first round. I'm thinking, okay, maybe in the back they said, look, let's get this first 5 minutes out of the way so that we get comfortable and we settle in, and let's also make him think, like, everybody's talking about your vaunted grappling skills. Everybody knows what you do. He's going to be looking for you to shoot right away. Let's trick him, and let's make him think that because you're in the UFC, you're just here to strike. And then round 2, that's when we make our adjustment and we pounce. And then it didn't happen. And then that's when you start going, okay, are you frozen? Like you said, did nerves get the better of you? Did you get cracked early? Because there was volume. Like, Batista was landing, and his strikes look good. Man, he's got crisp shots, and his boxing is nice. It's like, but it didn't seem like it was those concussive blows where, like, oh, Patchy's not even there right now. Like, he's just fighting on instinct. It seemed like he was still, but he couldn't get anything going, man. And finally, you talk about some of those good shots. The good shots did, I think mostly land in the third, which leads me to believe back to that first theory, right? That, like, it just took him a while to finally settle in and realize, oh, I'm here. This is happening. All that I've been working for. You know what I mean? Maybe, I don't know. I'm to me, again, and I don't want to take away from Mario Batista. I just think this was a bad performance from Patchy Mix. There was probably a lot built into it. I was talking to my wife, and she was talking about, like, just how many media responsibilities he had and how many things he had going because there was so much attention around him and so much discussion around him, and maybe it all just built up. Who knows? I think there's still greatness ahead for Patchy Mix. I do. I just think this was a really, really bad performance, and I'm sure that there's going to be some people, like I said, that's the first time they watched him fight, and they're just going to say, well, this guy's terrible. I don't even understand why people were talking about him. I still think there's good things ahead for Patchy Mix. It's just going to take him a little bit longer. He was talking about rolling in, getting an impressive victory here, and then start talking about a title shot. Now you're going to have to take the long route to the top.
Or he's 2 impressive performances away from being there again.
Yeah, right. That too. What have you done for me lately? Like, if he comes out and just smokes somebody in the opening round and just says, man, that debut, like, I'll be honest with you, like, I froze up and I'm so embarrassed that happened to me. He was like, and dude, it's completely understandable, right? Like, for years, you're the best guy that's outside of the UFC, right? And you know it, and you know that you're world level, but nobody's talking about you. You know, you're making money. And he said it like, look, I won titles. Bellator paid me well, so I'm doing good financially. But there's just a level of attention and a level of public recognition when you're at the top of the UFC versus you're the top of anywhere else, right? And so, you know, for years, I'm sure you're like, damn, I see the love and the respect and the admiration and the attention that those guys get. And I know I can go with them, and I know I can beat them. And you build it up in your head for years and years and years. And then you go through all this, you know, all the turmoil that had been happening with Bellator, and you don't know what your future holds. And, and then you finally get it. And you've built it up so much in your head, right? You hear people talk about it. Coaches like, hey, man, this is just another fight. It's just another fight. You know what I mean? For you, I'm sure the first IBJJF, you know, black belt competition, hey, it's just another, we're just rolling. It's just another competition. But you build these things up. And so it's completely understandable. And I just think that's what's happened, whether or not he believes that's what happened or not.
On a lower level, even on a lower level, I talked about the first time I did my Dana White Contender Series. First time I ever did it at that level. I mean, right? Hardly anybody in the venue. I've reffed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fights up until that point. And I was scared to death, right? Yes. I was so nervous. And then ironically, I followed that up with an Apex performance a few months later with UFC. I was then in my groove. I got into my groove, right? So, yeah, it just means more with those three letters. It just means more. Like, and you're not human if you don't recognize that and you don't feel it.
And listen, and I'm telling you, like, everybody has it, man. It's like the imposter syndrome or whatever. You know, you tell yourself you belong in the UFC, you think you belong in the UFC, and then you're there one day and it's scary, right? You're like, damn, do I really? All these things I said, all these things I believe, but then you're there, like you said, it feels different. So I tend, and again, I don't want to take away from Mario Batista because this dude just keeps putting W's together, and all of a sudden now you guys start talking about him and where he fits in, and does he get a fight night headliner next? Does he get a #1 contender next? You know what happens? But I just feel like it was just an off night for Patchy Mix, and I think there's a lot of things that could have led to that, and I think there's better days ahead for him. I
do too. I mean, I still think he's going to be there in the end. I really do. I do want to look forward though, really quick. By the way, we don't even talk about it, but how good did Holland look?
Kevin Holland's great. And I love what he said afterwards. Like, hey man, I'm in this thing at 170. You know, I need to take this thing professional and because that dude, he's so fun, man. And he's so talented and he just makes it entertaining. And so he looked fantastic, you know, gutted for Vicente Luque, of course, man, a veteran of the game that was kind of in need of a win. But Kevin Holland looked, he looked great. And there were some great performances on the prelims, man. Joshua Van looked amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Azamat Murzakanov, man, if you haven't been watching that guy, you better want to pay attention to him because he's going to be beating up your favorite champ here pretty soon. You know what I mean? Like, that dude's going to be a problem. Andres Gustafsson was fun, man. That dude's a savage. So some really fun performances, man, all the way up and down this card. It really was a good night, man. I thought just a very entertaining night of fights to watch, capped off by what you said. I mean, just two brilliant title performances and two brilliant title performances that we know they have amazing title fights coming up next as well. So I thought it was a great night, man. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I do want to look forward to this weekend. Man, another big fight. Like, we have not seen this guy, and this guy meaning Kamaru Usman. We have not seen him fight for a long time. And he's not taking any warm-up fight coming back. He's fighting Joaquin Buckley, who's on a freaking tear, by the way. And I don't even. Do you know what the odds are for this fight? I don't even know. Let me see if it's listed. Nope, I don't have it listed.
Okay. Wow. Okay, I'm looking at him right now.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Buckley is favored -165.
-265.
I can see that, man. Kamaru Usman. It is well documented how injured this dude was when he was the champion of the world for so long. Now you remove him for what, 2 years? We haven't seen him fight. You know, we knew there's reports out there that he could not walk up and down stairs frontwards because it was too much pressure on his knees. He had to walk downstairs backwards because his knees were that bad.
Yeah.
And so I can see that line. I really do. Like, I don't think it's crazy, but then we also saw, like, he was that injured, and then we saw what he did to Chimaev in round number 3. If that would have went 5, he's given Chimaev his loss.
100%. It's intriguing, man. I like Kamaru Usman a lot, man. I really do, man. I think he was a misunderstood guy for many years. And I think he's a really good dude and a very effective fighter and one of the greatest of all time in the welterweight division.
And here's a hot take. Getting on a podcast with Henry Cejudo, like, redid him. Everybody's like, okay, this dude's cool.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think people, I agree, man. I think he's drawn that out of him, man. I think people are starting to see what a lot of, and look, I think Usman had a little bit of that to do with himself as well. Like, I felt like he was a different person off camera than he was on camera sometimes. Like, he was trying to create a certain projection of an image or whatever, like on the mic. And I get it, but I don't know, man. I think people should just be who they are, man. I think they should really just be, authentic. And I think when you see that, and on that podcast, you see it, right? You're seeing the authentic Usman. And it is. If you haven't checked it out, it's definitely worth it. It's a great show. And those guys are great, at understanding the game. I mean, they are experts at talking about it. So you're right. So, listen, in my heart, I'll be cheering for Usman, man. But he is 38 years old. You know what I mean? And he has had a lifelong of athletic competition. And, that's sometimes the downside of the guys that come from wrestling, right? Like, the guys that come from a wrestling background, I feel like adapt to mixed martial arts so quickly, as long as they're cool with taking a punch and they can gain the striking, just because there is, to me, no argument that wrestling is the best base for MMA. But we also know that guys that come from a wrestling background, by the time they get into the UFC, they've already had 1,000 matches and, thousands of hours of training, and it's not easy on your body, right? And his knees have been shot. And meanwhile, as you said, Joaquin Buckley, my goodness, especially at welterweight, just seems to have come into his own, man. And we always knew, the skills were there and the athleticism were there, but now, like, the confidence is there, and the more well-rounded approach is there, and he just seems to be operating on a different level. So, yeah, this would be a big upset if Usman could pull this off. But if the time away has helped him heal, if the knees are there, if he's been able to make some recovery, then he's got the skills. He's faced the best in the world. Usman could put something together, but this is going to be a challenge, man. This is going to be a challenge.
You think that 265 is crazy or no?
It's crazy for me to see it, but when you assess it, it's not. It's not. It's not, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And it got bet down. It opened at minus 225 and got bet down. So, I mean, that just goes to show you right there that, look, people didn't have a problem with it, and they just kept putting money on it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I see it, and it's going to be like this fight, whichever way it goes, I could be like, yeah, I totally see that. That's the way I thought it was going to go. You know what I mean?
I love the implied odds percentage. My old boss Dan Stupp used to always reference this, and I think it's great. And they have like a calculator. So you say, well, what does minus 265 odds mean? Well, we know what it means, but what are the implied odds? The implied odds of a minus 265 favorite is that person should win 72.6% of the time. So basically what they're saying is every 3 out of 4 times these guys fight, Buckley wins. 1 out of 4, Usman wins. Of course, they're only going to fight once, so which one is it? But that sounds about right to me. A 38-year-old Usman. Now, if we're talking about 32-year-old Usman, if we're talking about championship reign Usman, he's favored in this fight, right? Or maybe he's a slight dog if we're talking about this exact Buckley right now. But I think he'd be favored because, I mean, you think about the grappling and the cardio and all those things that Usman possesses. Championship Usman is favored, but this is 38-year-old Usman.
Yeah, but off the couch, Usman coming back to fight Chimaev and literally winning round number 3. I mean, I'm gonna be excited I'm gonna be excited to watch it because, we have this mythical creature in Kamaru Usman of what we and can he do that? Like, is he that guy to be like, even 2 years out of the cage, I'm still Kamaru freaking Usman. Do not get it. And that's why I'm saying if he goes in there and loses and gets run by by Buckley. I could be like, he hasn't fought in 2 years. He's 38 years old. His knees are shot. He's this, that, and the other. Yeah, what did you expect? But then if he comes in here and fights like Kamaru Usman, we're like, what'd you think? He's Kamaru freaking Usman.
That crafty old dog. No, it's so true because look, it's one of those things like, and I think people have had a propensity to do this. You look at it, you go, man, dude, he's coming off 3 straight losses. Well, hold on, let's look at the first one. Like, I mean, there's a minute left, and like people are walking out of the arena because they're like, Usman did it again, man. He just, and then he loses, and that's one of the most spectacular moments in UFC history. So yeah, it's a loss, but I mean, it's one that he damn near won. And then as you said it against Chimaev, I mean, if that's a 5-round fight, things go a whole lot different, man. I think we all know how that fight turns out. So you're right, man. I look, man, and it's not that I don't love Joaquin Buckley. That dude's fun. I think he's hilarious. I think he's spectacular. I think he's a highlight reel machine, and I love his confidence, and I love the way he's fighting right now. But we always talk about it, right? The old dogs, the guys you've been watching for a decade plus, and you've seen their journeys.
Us old dudes.
Yeah, exactly, right? So make no mistake about it. When I sit down on Saturday night, nothing against Joaquin Buckley, but I'm going to be cheering for the old guy, Kamaru Usman. And look, he's got the skills to get it done. But if he is lessened, if he is weakened, if he isn't 100%, it won't be fun for him.
No, I agree. Man, do you have a good time in North Dakota this weekend?
I did, man. I like I said, man, it's 3rd time up to Four Bears, and I just love the countryside up there, man. I think it's so gorgeous out there, and it's cool to go out there. And then the history and the culture and all those things is awesome. And then the fights delivered, man. We had a great night of fights, man. It was cool to see you there, and obviously you were on Iron Man duty, man. Just like all 10 fights that night, and we had a lot of really fun finishes and highlight reels. I mean, when I think back to the prelims, that Michaela Rampage guillotine choke of Alana Cook, where she just, it was John Jones, Lyoto Machida, right? I mean, just dropped her like a sack of potatoes after putting her cold.
My wife called me that night. My wife called me, and she goes, couldn't you have caught her? Why didn't you catch her? My wife was upset I didn't catch her, and I'm like, I tried to grab her arm, but
you did. You tried. It's kind of a difficult.
She was like, why didn't you catch her? You just let her head bounce off the canvas.
Wow. I mean,
I was stopping the choke first. Like, that's where I'm going. Like, let's release the choke.
Right. Trying to protect the airway there. Sorry. That was a highlight reel finish, and she got the submission of the night bonus. That was cool. 4 straight submissions on the prelims was fun. And then we got to the main card. A lot of great finishes there too, man. Some, a great fight. Gokishvili and Eccles had an amazing fight. Finally,
talk about that,
But yeah, what I was gonna say, it all builds to the main event. I mean, I want to give a shout out to everybody because it was a fun night. But Bilal Hasan, and I also want to give a shout out to Jason Eastman, man. That dude is not as tough. I saw him post on social media this morning, like basically apologizing. It was like, man, I'd had a layoff. I didn't go out there and perform. I'm like, dude. Jason Eastman is a warrior, but I'm telling you right now, and I said on the broadcast, and you had a closer seat than me, but Bilal Hasan at 23 years old, I just believe he can compete in the UFC right now. I really do. Am I saying, hey, he's definite future champion? No, there's studs. Don't get me wrong, man. It would be a long journey, but I'm telling you, the guy's presence in there, he's special, man. He's special. Like, yes, he's a flashy striker, but it's not. He's speedy. His shot selection is incredible, but man, it's just his composure in there, man, and the way he performs, unbelievable. Great performance. I guess we have to see his knee. I saw that he was in a wheelchair afterwards. He was in some nasty submissions, and hopefully we'll see how that knee heals up this week. But Bilal Hasan, man, if he's not on your radar, man, the guy needs to be on your radar. He is damn good.
Yeah, I mean, I think he needs to up his leg IQ a little bit.
Yep.
Who knows how much he really trains. Like, you have to take deep dives into that, which got him into sticky predicaments. Don't know how bad the injury to the knee is, but I mean, there's obviously some stability there because he was up on the feet still spinning and doing stuff like that. So, who knows if he maybe just sprained.
That was in the second round, right? That was in the second round. He finishes the fight in the 4th. So, I mean, hopefully it's not, like you said, hopefully it's not totally blown. I mean, he was in that leg entanglement. It was like 3+ minutes in that leg entanglement. And Jason Eastman had some bites on those heels, man. It wasn't like he was just there and he had his foot flat on the ground and he was fine. Like, he was in some spots, man.
Yeah, I encourage everybody, if you have UFC Fight Pass, go and watch this kid. Somebody was telling me he's the most followed fighter on UFC Fight Pass.
Well, I would not be surprised. That would not surprise me. I haven't looked, and I don't know for a fact, but that would not shock me. I'm telling you right now, we put up his debut fight in the CFFC on YouTube. It was his professional debut, and we put it on YouTube this week. And it's a good fight. It's a decision. It's not like a highlight. I mean, it's the only decision he's had. He's had every other finish. So it was his debut, and I was like, hey, let's put that up. But I don't know if it's going to do a lot of numbers because it didn't have the big finish. It's set like 120,000 views right now on YouTube, and it's the Indonesian, bro. It's Indonesian audience over. I mean, the man has a nation behind him. His parents are Indonesian, and he obviously shows love to the nation. He speaks the language, and he proudly represents the flag, and they support him. And it's crazy. So yeah, the dude's got a fan base as well, and I think his American fan base is going to keep growing as well, man. It's right. I mean, the dude not only is a great fighter, but he gets it right. I mean, he's coming in dancing to Michael Jackson, wearing sunglasses. He understands this is like entertainment as well. Incredibly well spoken, also on the mic. He's very thoughtful. So a hell of a main event. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Especially now as a commentator and the CFFC general manager, he can fight for us as long as he wants, man. I love having him there. But I just honestly believe he could compete in the UFC right now. So, we'll see what their plans are. I will say this, and I think he's got a great mindset as well. He's like, look, I know it's inevitable for me. He's like, I'm 23. He's like, I'll be in the UFC. I'm not in a rush. The more experience I can get, the better I get. And I don't think there's I don't think that's a bad approach, but I don't want to see him at 15-0 getting the UFC. You know what I mean? I want to see him, in the next couple of fights at the very least. He's good. And again, another shout out to Jason Eastman. I know he's disappointed. I know he's heartbroken. I saw his message right before we just started recording about how disappointed he was in himself. That dude has nothing to hang his head at all about, man. I thought he went out there and just put on a scratch.
I kind of
by the way, great. Well, I was going to say, so that's one of those stoppages where, he never hit the deck. I had no issue with your stoppage whatsoever. I thought you gave him every opportunity. But once that moment where he kind of leaned over, like, he's so tough he wasn't going down. So you had to save him from being too tough for his own good. But I thought the timing of your stoppage was good. It sounds like you're going to tell me you didn't like your stoppage.
I kind of beat myself up over that stoppage a little bit. I've rewatched it 3 or 4 times, and I think I let him take 4 or 5 punches that he didn't need to take. But in my head, there was times where I'm like, earlier in the fight, I'm close to stopping this fight. And then he shoots a double and gets it.
Yeah.
And so I was wondering, I'm like, where's this desperation takedown that's going to come? As a referee and as a guy who used to fight, now never at that level, right? I'm like, right. I've seen how tough he is. Like, I owe him the opportunity. But then, like, I say in my rules meeting, I'm going to give you every opportunity to a point. I just, on some level, I feel bad because, I think that point was 2 or 3 punches earlier, albeit he never went to the ground.
He never went down, man. I mean, never went to the ground. But I think you're right. And first, let me say, I think it's great that you, and listen, I think this discussion you're having right now is something that probably a lot of MMA fans need to hear, that understand you're not the only guy doing that. Every ref, every judge, they have these same discussions. They do look back and, where could I have gotten better? What did I do here? I think the fact that you're talking about 2 or 3 punches just goes to show the level at which you're, criticizing yourself and evaluating. I think that's awesome. If you're talking about that little difference, that goes to show how highly of a level you're performing at, but you want to get even better. But I think what you said is spot on, is that, like, it wasn't like here's a guy that if he happens to land one big overhand, he might turn. No, he had passed the victory. He almost won this thing in the second round. And like you said, every time it looked like, oh, this fight's over, like, Bilal's taking over, he would shoot a takedown and he would get Bilal to his back, and his ground game was effective. So I think
he passed, and he went into side control the round earlier.
Yes,
almost
100%, right? He was trying to attack the arm, right? He was trying to pull a Kayla Harrison off right at the bell of the third, right? So, I mean, you're 100% right about that. So the dude is just tough, man. But I thought you nailed it right. Like you said, once that part where he wasn't going down, but he was kind of leaning over and wasn't, the damage was done. But that dude is tough as nails, man. I thought he went out and showed himself well. Another American top team product. I thought he went out and showed well for himself. So that was an amazing fight. And we got a little rivalry in our co-main. So you weren't privy to all this. Your job is just to referee the fight. But Chris Brown was initially supposed to fight Kyle Daukaus for the middleweight title. Kyle Daukaus had to pull out of the fight. Randall Wallace steps in. It's an interim title. And Chris Brown has been not hesitant to talk trash about Kyle Daukaus at all. Said, dude, he's scared of me. He didn't want this fight. He wants to fight me on the East Coast. He wouldn't go fight me in North Dakota. So he wins the fight, and immediately he's like, look, I'm the real champ right here, man. Like, I'm the guy. I ain't even worried about that guy. So he kept the trash. So it's kind of fun. So it looks like we'll have a unification fight later this year. But, sometimes in the nature of the developmental organizations and regional organizations, you don't really get to build rivalries because guys are kind of moving in and out. But I love that we've got an interim title holder who's talking to the reigning champion and be like, you're scared of me. You got no courage. You wouldn't take me on. So when they have a unification fight, there'll be a little bit of bad blood in there, I'm sure. And that should be fun.
So I had ref Chris Brown before, believe it or not.
Okay.
I refed him at 155.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. So I refed him a main event V3 Fights. Now, for those of you who don't know, V3 Fights was a Tennessee-based organization that CFFC acquired,
right.
and produced great high-level fights. Bryce Mitchell came up through V3.
Yep.
Right. That's where he came. That's where he made his name. And, a number of other fighters as well. But he fought a guy named Thomas Gifford.
Right.
Thomas Gifford had a cup of coffee in the UFC, but the Chris Brown fight, and this is what everybody thought of Chris Brown. Like, this is the next guy in the UFC, hands down. He's coming from Albuquerque. He had both Wink and Jackson in his corner in Tennessee or in Tunica, Mississippi for this fight. And he was like 4-0 at the time, something like that. And Thomas Gifford, and he breaks Thomas Gifford's arm in round number 1 in an arm bar. And he's screaming at me saying, "Ref, his arm's broken. His arm's broken." I'm like, he hasn't tapped yet, and it's not poking out. So I'm not a doctor. I can't see.
I don't have an X-ray here, brother.
Yeah, Gifford ends up getting out and then winning a split decision victory in probably the greatest fight I've ever reffed. It was unbelievable. But then now I'm like, wait, is that the same Chris Brown 3 weight classes up now? And then doing that against another high-level guy who he's fun to go watch this guy because he had permanent tired face on. So I thought he was exhausted the whole time, but he was so unconventional in the way he did. It was just a fun fight. And like, both of these guys look spectacular.
They really did. Buddy Wallace stepping in there, man. We appreciate him jumping in on 3 weeks, and he was trying to push it. But yeah, the better shots were landing from Chris Brown. And you're right. It's at one point in the night, I got a text from Rob Haydack, our CEO, and he's like the middleweight Derek Lewis, right? Like he's kind of baiting you in. He looks like he's exhausted, and all of a sudden he throws a wild flurry and it'll pop. So it was a fun fight. And man, it's interesting to see. You look back at the record of Chris Brown. You talked about that early loss to Thomas Gifford. Then he loses to Carrington Banks, Ignacio Bahamondes, Carlos Leal, UFC talents, and then Thad Jean, who you're going to see Thad Jean this week in the PFL, who's a very, very talented up-and-coming fighter as well. So this is a big moment for Chris Brown. And as you say, he's out of Jackson Wink and Michelle Watterson, who was on the commentary with me, obviously a long-time Jackson Wink product as well. She talked about just what a great teammate he is. You know what I mean? He's one of those guys that's always willing to help out and do whatever is necessary in the gym to help others achieve their goals. And he kind of realizes that, look, man, I've been around the game for a long time. I've had this promise for a long time. This is my moment. This is my opportunity. And Kyle Daukaus had a handful of fights in the UFC, kind of felt like maybe he didn't approach it the right way. He's ready to get back. Kyle Daukaus has never lost a fight outside of the UFC. His only career losses have been in the octagon. So that could be a heck of a unification bout and have big meaning for it. If Chris Brown can find a way to pull off an upset there, who knows what's ahead for him. But it's such a unique style.
Maybe September at the Four Bears Casino up in North Dakota. And
maybe so. Maybe so. That'd be interesting, right? Because Kyle Daukaus, that might be interesting for Kyle to be like, hey, not only do I want to fight you, but I want to fight you in Four Bears to show you that it had nothing to do with me going to North Dakota. It had nothing to do with me being scared of you. I just couldn't make the fight. Like, let's do it. So we'll see how it plays out. I'm looking forward to that one.
What do you got coming up this weekend?
Hanging out, man. Not a big weekend for me, fortunately. The last weekend was a busy one, but I'm just going to be chilling in Las Vegas. Obviously, I'll be tuned in Saturday night to watching the UFC, but it's a pretty easy one for me. And I guess I'll be watching you perform on some PFL duties as well.
Yeah, Thursday night, Professional Fight League welterweight season. and it's the semifinals. I got the call, so I will be up there. I'll be one of the third men in the cage. I'm tremendously excited about that. Big platform. I always love, these opportunities when the big platforms, thank goodness it's just like, it seems like they're always getting a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger for me. So I'm really, really, truth be told, I'm really thankful for Cage Fury because I believe Cage Fury is what put me as a ref on the map.
I appreciate that, man. No, you do a fantastic job. Obviously, we've got a friendship outside of it, but I appreciate the work that you do, man. It's great to have you there. So it's good to see you getting these opportunities. And yeah, it's a big card. Like I said, the aforementioned Dad Gene is there. Jason Jackson as well. Big welterweight semifinal. Some great matchups. PFL finally starting to get a little momentum, right? I mean, we talked about, all the drama they had in the offseason, fighters, discussing their contract and all that. But, man, you got the launch of these international leagues. They're going to be in Africa in a couple of weeks. You got this thing going. I mean, they got things going on. So it's nice to see for them because I know there's a lot of people working hard behind the scenes and they're trying to do big things over there. And it's tough. I mean, obviously they brought it upon themselves that they kind of want to compete with the UFC and, they want to be the co-leader. And, I don't know if they necessarily want to compete with the UFC, but they at least want to be, recognized on that level. And it's hard to do, man. It's hard to do, but, they're doing a good job and they've got some momentum going right now. So definitely Thursday night worth tuning into a big card. It's worth tuning in just to see the great refereeing work. Even if you don't want to see any of the fighters whatsoever, if you're like, dude, I got enough MMA. I don't even watch the fighters. Just keep focused the whole time on Eric McMahon and be like, dude, look at his positioning right now. Look at where.
Yeah. Do not do that. Do not do that. But yeah, I know Blake Grice, another great referee, is going to be up there. Me, Blake Grice, and then there's going to be, I would assume, one more. I'm not sure. Last time it was me, Blake, and Herzog. So I hope Herzog's going to be there. I'm a big fan of Jason Herzog. I love learning from Jason Herzog. He's like this analytical, nerdy dude when you talk to him, but like a really like stud of a human. Also, you're like,
yep.
That's a weird dynamic we got going on here. And at first I didn't get him, and then finally, like, it's really like he's completely analytical. He's really nice to me, so I like him.
That's awesome, man. 100%. Dude. It's great to see you getting these big assignments, and love you coming out to Las Vegas any chance you get. I know you're going to be out here a little bit during International Fight Weeks. Obviously, that's a few weeks away. Looking forward to that. That's going to be a busy week, man. They just got they just launched the UFC Jiu-Jitsu. I don't know if you got a chance to see that. I know you're busy traveling, but they launched the UFC BJJ. They've kind of revealed the apparatus of I guess you wouldn't call it a pit because that's the Karate Combat CGI.
But they kind of took it up like a CGI-esque approach to it.
They did, and you know what, man? I'll be honest. I did not see that coming with the pit being the better, but I really like seeing grappling in that because you don't have those restarts. Obviously dragging guys back to the center because on the side of a platform is tough, and also you would see guys that wouldn't go for anything unless they were on the edge because they knew if they took a shot and that they started to get caught in something else, they could just roll off and they'd get like a free escape, basically. So I love the fact that it just keeps the continuity of the grappling. And I get that maybe some people might have an argument of like, well, it's not pure grappling because if you're in this weird side position leaning against the wall. But to be honest with you, when I think about martial arts, I always think about the real world application of it. You know what I mean? It's like, yes, it's a sport, but at the end of the day, what are we really doing? It is martial arts. You know what I mean? And you're not going to be like, hey, man, I know you just attacked me in this little, area, but we're not on a completely flat surface. So if we could go over here a little bit. Yeah. So, you know what I mean? So, but I'll be honest with you, I never even thought, even when Karate Combat came out and we was watching Karate Combat and, seeing their structure, I never once thought, dude, they need to grapple in there. That would really work. But as soon as I saw it, I'm like, this makes all the sense in the world because you don't have those. And I think as a fan, again, you could argue about the purity of it and, all these weird positions and these, if you're in the corner up against the wall, and I get that. But as a fan, and we know, man, grappling has been around for a long time and maybe people don't always take on to it. I love it because just the continuity. Fans hate the restarts. I know they hate the stop. Let's drag you to the center or let's stand up and let's try to reset the position. Yeah, I don't think fans like that at all. So the fact that it just keeps the continuity going, man, I love it. So I'm anxious to see what the UFC does with this. I'm really anxious to see how it plays out.
So am I. Anxious.
And that's part of International Fight Week. Plus we got a UFC. Plus we got a power slap. Plus we got, it was all kinds of stuff going on. I love International Fight Week. And selfishly, I love my wife and son, but they're going to be out of the country visiting family. So that means I get to just go to like everything. Like, I don't have to feel bad about it.
And then me and you can go have a beer afterwards.
We can go have a frosty beverage. We're going to make that happen. That's a done deal. You can count on that. We're doing it.
Done after Power Slap that Friday night. Well, anyways, with that being said, again, to recap, Merab, as O'Malley would say, is a MFer. Kayla Harrison is an MFer. And man, those two are just look unstoppable. Patchy Mix, utter disappointment in the debut, but we both think he's going to be there in the end. Looking forward to Buckley Usman this coming weekend, but I'm also going to be in the cage Thursday night, PFL on ESPN. Check it out. Well, and with that being said, for John Morgan, I'm Eric McMahon. Enjoy the fights.